In 1973, Enfield, Illinois was a town of about 750 people. It was a quiet farming community in White County, the kind of place where residents knew their neighbors, and nothing out of the ordinary was expected to happen. Henry McDaniel was a staple of that community. A military veteran and antiques dealer, he was known as a straight-laced resident with no history of making things up. On the night of April 25th, Henry returned from a meeting to find his children in a state of panic. Something was at the door. When Henry listened closely, he heard a deliberate, rhythmic scratching against the wood. He opened the door expecting a stray animal, but instead saw a gray, three-legged creature about 4.5 feet tall. It had 2 tiny arms and glowing pink eyes. Henry fired 4 shots, convinced he hit the entity, before it hissed and bounded away into the darkness. Had Henry kept the story to himself, it might have remained a local rumor. But by calling the Illinois State Police, he moved the event out of the realm of folklore and into the world of official documentation. Officer James Messer arrived that night to conduct a systematic search of the property. What began as a response to a prowler call quickly became a search for physical evidence. In the soft mud near the house, police found tracks that defied known biology. The prints were 3-toed, but each toe pad was doubled, creating 6 distinct pads per print. State police cross-referenced these tracks against every species in the Illinois Wildlife Registry. They found no known animal, native or otherwise, that matched this specific morphological structure. This official police documentation created a vacuum of logic. The state now had a verified, physical record of a creature that, according to biological science, should not exist. As the investigation expanded, police discovered that Henry McDaniel was not the only person who had encountered the anomaly that night. 30 minutes before Henry arrived home, a young neighbor named Greg Garrett was playing in his backyard when the creature emerged from the dark. His description was identical to Henry's: 3 legs, gray skin, and short vestigial arms. Earlier that same evening, students at a local baseball field reported a similar entity watching them from the edge of the woods. The map shows a clear progression, from the baseball field to the Garrett house, and finally to the McDaniel porch. All 3 events occurred within a 3-hour window across separate locations in town. The lack of contact between these households makes a coordinated hoax difficult to justify. The police were faced with multiple independent witnesses who all converged on the same impossible description before they had even spoken to one another. 10 days later, the creature returned. The sighting was witnessed not just by the McDaniels, but by a research team from Western Illinois University that had arrived to investigate. The researchers filed a written statement with the police. They described a grayish creature moving through the trees with an almost mechanical, bouncing gait that allowed it to cover ground with unnatural speed. Local police responded with nightly patrols. During these shifts, veteran deputies officially reported hearing unidentifiable, wailing screeches in the woods, sounds that matched no known predator in White County. As word spread, Enfield was flooded by the national press and armed hunters. The pressure became so intense that the local sheriff eventually threatened to jail McDaniel if he continued to talk to reporters. The combination of academic observation, police testimony, and media frenzy meant that a localized anomaly had become a systemic crisis that the town's authorities were unable to resolve. To understand the Enfield case, we have to test the most common skeptical theories against the established facts in the police file. Theories of kangaroos or apes fail. Neither matches a 3-legged creature with 6 toe pads. A coordinated hoax is also impossible. The timeline proves witnesses were separated and lacked the communication window to synchronize their stories. When held strictly against documented police and academic records, every conventional explanation for the Enfield sightings is found lacking. Henry McDaniel never changed his story. Until his death, he maintained he knew exactly what he saw standing on his porch that April night. The physical evidence remains. The police files, the photographs of the tracks, and the sworn testimonies are all still there, unsolved 50 years later. Even when our systems of evidence and investigation work perfectly, the darkness can still hold secrets we are not yet equipped to explain.